Welcome to Brilliantly British. My name is Lawrence and today I have something extra special and extra sweet for you. Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful thing in front of me, a cherry pie with a beautiful lattice top. This cherry pie isn't the only thing that's going to make an appearance in this episode. I'm going to show you also how to make a silky smooth vanilla custard to go with the cherry pie. Together, they are a marriage made in heaven. And Mum, I know you're watching. This is one of your favorites. I'm going to try my best to do you proud. So with a cup of tea in hand, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Because you are interested in making a deliciously wonderful cherry pie with custard, I'm going to show you what you will need. You will need some plain flour, some salt, some powdered sugar, an egg, and some butter. This is for the sweet shortcrust pastry. The filling, of course, you will need some good quality cherries. You can't have a cherry pie without cherries, and some normal granulated sugar. Then for the custard, the thing that's going to round off this delicious pie when it's sitting hot in your plate, you'll need some full fat milk, some eggs, some vanilla essence, or in this case I've got vanilla paste. A vanilla pod will be even better, and some cornstarch. Finally, you're going to be baking. You know what I, Lawrence, am about to say. So go switch that kettle on, get yourself a nice cup of hot tea. We are going to start with our shortcrust pastry, our sweet shortcrust pastry. So in this bowl goes the plain white flour, in goes the powdered sugar, mix that together by hand, in goes some salt. Now in goes our cold butter. I'm going to flake this through with our fingers. You just want to work with your fingertips and flake this through until you've got a breadcrumb-like texture. Now we're going to add in our egg and some water to bind this together to properly form our dough. Crack my egg into the glass. Now what I'm going to do at first is add 3 tablespoons of cold water. This is just going to make it easier for me to add my wet ingredients to my dry over here, rather than adding the egg, mixing the egg in and then mixing the water in later on. I'm just combining the two together. Okay, just gonna add 1 more tablespoon. Now you wanna squeeze as you're bringing the things together, because you don't really want to knead this. We don't want to develop gluten. We just want to bring this together into a nice smooth ball of dough. We have formed our beautiful sweet short crust pastry. Now I'm just going to gently roll this into a log shape, and I'm doing this just because it'll make it easy for me to divide it. I'm just going to weigh it. I'm going to divide this. I want a piece that is 1/3 and 2/3 the size. And now I'll put these in some bags to stop them from drying out. And then they both will go into my fridge to cool down and rest, so that when I'm ready to work with them in 30 minutes time, they will be nice and easy to work with. Whilst our pastry is chilling in the fridge, we're going to de-stone these cherries to begin the process of making our beautiful cherry pie filling. The cherries have been pitted, and now we're going to weigh them just so that I and you will know how much sugar to add to give us the right balance between sweet and sour. Whatever your weight in cherries is for the pie that you're going to be making, you want to add 1/4 of that weight in sugar. As simple as that. Now for the next step. Just before we cook our cherries, we're going to encourage them to release their juices. So with a potato masher, I'm just going to squash these cherries here to release all of the juices, so that when this goes into the pan, it'll cook a lot faster. We'll reduce a lot of the excess fluid, but we'll be left with something that is very concentrated in flavor. Now we're going to move over to the stove, cook our cherries with the sugar. In a frying pan, pour in your cherries and sugar and reduce the mixture by half, stirring often to prevent it from burning. It's important to do this in a frying pan on a high heat, because you'll quickly reduce the mixture before the cherries break down completely. Once the mixture has reduced, it should have a deep, dark, shiny, gelatinous look and consistency. At this point, pour your mixture into a bowl or container and allow it to cool to room temperature. The mixture should be able to hold a line on the back of a spoon or spatula. Now, remember the larger portion of dough you rested in the fridge? Well, fetch that from the fridge and on a floured surface, roll it out so that it's large enough to comfortably blanket your tart pan. After which, lay your pastry on top of your pan and gently tuck it in, encouraging it into all nooks and crannies before cutting off the excess. In preparation for baking, prick the bottom with a fork, preventing the buildup of steam underneath. Follow this step by covering your pan with foil or baking paper before filling with baking beans or rice alternatively. Blind bake this as it is for 15 minutes before uncovering and baking for a further 15 minutes to fully cook your base. Whilst the base bakes, I'll quickly show you how to make a fancy lattice top for this pie. Start by rolling out the other portion of the dough that was resting in the fridge. Again, making sure that it's able to cover your tart pan. Once rolled out, cut out a rectangle before dividing it into 8 equal strips. On some baking paper, first lay 4 of your strips down, with 2 folded back. Perpendicular to the first 4 strips, lay the other 4 strips before beginning to form the over and under lattice pattern. With the lattice made, slide the paper onto a plate and rest in the fridge. With the base now looking beautifully golden brown, it was time for me to construct this pie. Now, the next step for me couldn't have turned out better because I was able to perfectly fill my base. The next step, on the other hand, made me realize why I rarely, if ever, see a lattice-topped cherry pie, because it's fiddly. But I just about managed to turn out the lattice top before flipping it onto the top of the pie. Most pies are topped with a simple sheet of pastry, and no one will judge you for opting for the easier option. Anyway, I tidied the edges up before egg washing and returned it to the oven to bronze. And bronze it did. Okay, the pie has been made and it is a thing of beauty. I mean, it is golden, just beautiful, and the filling has set wonderfully. It's not too runny, not too thick either. Now what we're going to do, because the pie has cooled completely, is get on with making the custard. So, the custard. On a medium heat, I began to heat up the milk, and in the meantime, beat eggs, cornstarch, vanilla, and sugar together. Once the milk came up to the boil, I gradually tempered my eggs by slowly adding my milk whilst whisking constantly. I poured the mixture back into the pot and on a medium heat, stirred constantly until it cooked and crucially thickened to the point where it was able to coat the back of my spatula and hold a line. At this point, I immediately took it off of the heat, for it was then ready to serve. Tasting. As excited as I am to dive into this pie, it is unfortunate that this pie, this thing of beauty, has to be cut. It's days like this, really, that make life really, for me, worthwhile. I mean, this is a beautiful thing and I'm tasting it with my eyes and it looks delicious. Because this is a science experiment, I'm going to taste it on its own first. Pastry is nice and crisp. Cheers. It's amazingly fruity, beautifully balanced. The pastry is crisp. It's amazing with just 5 ingredients to make this, and you get this result. Now, with crème anglaise, English cream, custard. Custard is eggy. It's got the vanilla coming through. Oh, the pastry is so good. The pie falls over when I try and cut into it. Cheers for the second time. What can I say? My opinion is biased, but it's true. This is brilliant. This is brilliantly British, and we're only going to do brilliantly British food on this channel, and this is deliciously well balanced with the custard. Guys, please, please, please make this dish. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully now you're halfway out the door, running out to get the ingredients to make this beautiful, beautiful dessert. If you like this episode, please click the like button, subscribe to this channel, tell everyone, and I mean everyone you know, about this channel and the dishes on this channel and about Brilliantly British food. And I will see you next time. Extra special and extra I think now is the best time to get busy whilst our pastry is there with you. Cherry, cherry lady. Cherry, cherry pie. I knew you liked that one. I knew you liked that one. I knew it. I knew you'd like it. I knew you'd like that. Look.